Good morning, guys. Welcome to day 116 until I'm a YouTube millionaire. In this one, I'm going to discuss the lowest common denominator approach to discerning truth. What I mean by that is there is so little that we all know in this life that we must filter our perceptions, our subjective comprehension of the world around us with as much objectivity and first principle baseline truths as we can possibly muster. And there aren't very many of them with which we may work. I'm going to give you some examples. Consistency is more important than intensity, whether it be in your writings, in making videos like this on a consistent basis, or any number of other things, like exercise. I say this as part of my mantra at the beginning of every one of my workout streams. The mantra being, welcome to my workout stream. See how a guy with crucifixion disease, aka stigmata, still gets his exercise in. Spoiler alert, you just go a little bit easier. You don't have to go hard, you just have to go. Eat an elephant one bite at a time, and never give up. That perfectly aligns with consistency over intensity, though both are important. There are seasons in your life where intensity will outweigh consistency. It was what we called, when I was in the military, hurry up and wait. You had short stints of extremely high activity that you prepared for in your consistent training, which was very accurate with what we should have been preparing for when it comes to fighting the enemy. Because those times where you fight the enemy, face to face, or something to that effect, those skirmishes are only going to last a few seconds to a few minutes. But all the training that you do up to that point, the consistent training, is what makes you fully prepared and able to win that fight. So both are important, but consistency over intensity, because it's what you're going to spend most of your time doing. So if you're in a state of depression or weakness or something to that effect, I say that a lot, and you can only muster up the ability to, say you're a writer, write 10 words a day. Okay, that's fine. What you do, you write 10 words a day, and then you start to build up the confidence and the happiness that, hey, I've done this for 10 straight days. I've actually gotten 100 words written. It's not much, but it's something. So then you go up to 11 words per day, or 12, or 15, or 20. So first week, 10 words per day. Second week, 20 words per day, etc. Until you are fully confident in yourself. You got yourself up to 500 to 1,000 words per day in your story writing. And you're like, wow, I'm making serious progress. You're no longer depressed. You're capable of doing the things that you wanted to do. And you will overshoot at first. You're going to be so happy and elated at this fact that you're now writing 500 words per day that you shoot up to 2,000 words per day, thinking that you can sustain that. This happens to everybody. It's just the way it works. You overshoot once you get to your stability point. It's fine. Just re-gauge yourself. Go up to the point, overshooting a little bit, realizing that you're overshooting and come back down. It turns out your stability point, where you don't wear yourself out, but at the same time, you're accomplishing your goals and you're no longer depressed. Let's say is 700 words per day. There you go. 700 words per day. It will take you 100 days to write an entire full-length novel. Not bad. And then all the editing and all of the back and forth with your publishers. You might get a book published every 6 months to a year. As you build up rapport with your publisher, it goes faster and faster because they know how you write. They know how to edit your works. And you know all the ins and outs of how to communicate with them, and vice versa. And it gets better and better. Consistency over intensity. And another baseline fact, death is bad. Sounds pretty simple and plebeian, right? Well, look at the conflict happening in Russia and Ukraine right now. We have no idea what the hell is going on over there. We can't. There are simply too many variables for us to fully comprehend the geopolitics of it all. And as single individuals, we can't know. We don't know everything under the sun. Only God can know what's actually going on over there. But we can get to a baseline truth that death is bad and it should stop. We should minimize death as much as possible. This harkens back to the Ten Commandments, which themselves are lowest common denominator truths. Excess weight is bad. Body weight, I'm talking about. So if excess weight is bad, those things that cause excess weight are also things that you must minimize. For instance, sugary sodas. Sugary sodas are something that we should eliminate or minimize as much as we can in our lives. You can have a treat every once in a while, but most people don't have that kind of discipline to just treat it as a treat. And especially those people who are on Snap. They're on Snap for a particular reason. It's because they have not been very wise with the path that they've taken their lives down. They don't make very much money, and they don't make very good decisions in that regard. And usually, that comes along with a very high level of unhealthiness. So they're not going to have the kind of discernment to determine that a sugary beverage is not good without some exterior force giving them some idea of what they should be doing with that money. This money, by the way, is stolen out of the hands of people like myself. It is a tax. We pay for it by taxes. So, if you're going to live off the government dole, you have to follow the rules. Nobody should live under the government dole, truly. But if you are, you have to follow the rules. Which is, if they say no sugary drinks, no sugary drinks. If you want to buy sugary drinks, buy it with your own money, not with the money that the government gives you. Saving is better than spending, generally speaking, more than generally speaking, like almost exclusively speaking. And therefore, the central banking system in Keynesian economics, which has incentivized spending your money the moment you get it, has caused tremendous imbalances in our world, and it must be done away with immediately, entirely, obliterated, and the wound cauterized. Never be allowed to come back. Saving is better than spending. When you save money and you get to the ages of 65, 70 years old, and you've put away, say, 10% of your income every month, that's built up into $500,000 to $1 million, and you didn't spend it, now you can use that money to live off of for the rest of your life. And you can also invest it into other things that can make you more money. That's a baseline truth. Saving is better than spending, though spending and saving both have their places. You don't want to save so much that you become a miser and you don't enjoy things of life. I was actually reading a little bit of Seneca yesterday, and he was talking about a kind of philosopher's mean, or Aristotelian mean, Aristotle being the philosopher of that time, in that you want to live slightly above what the average is for your lot, for the people around you, so that you can give them something to strive for, but not so far out from their reach that they're disincentivized to even try. It's critically important. So, to that point, saving being more important than spending, I have a rule for myself. Let's say, I decide for one reason or another that I want to get myself a Ferrari or a Lamborghini at some point in the distant future when I have the money to do so. I have made a rule for myself that I will allow myself to do that if it is less than 1% of my net worth, or rather less than 1% of my yearly income to buy the vehicle. So that vehicle is $250,000 in today's dollars. That would mean that I have to be worth make $25 million a year or something like that in order to buy one of those vehicles with my own personal thresholds. I want to give people something to strive for, but not be gaudy and ridiculous about it. So I'm talking about the lowest common denominator approach. That's what this is, because we know so little. And so many of us think that we know everything. I remember my brother Brandon when he was 15 years old, and I knew he was at this era in his life because I had dealt with it a couple years before in myself. He told me when we were actually in a little scuffle in the backyard, "I know everything." He yelled that out loud, and I knew that's what he was going to do. It was interesting. We know nothing. We know nothing. The amount of information we can know is infinitesimally small compared to the amount of information that can be known, because any finite number, no matter how large, is still infinitesimally small compared to infinity. Just the way it works. We know very, very little. Learning is better than stagnation. One of the reasons I make these videos. For my progeny, my descendants, my family members, whether they're directly from my line or my nephews or great-nephews, etc., blah, 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 blah. I make these videos so that maybe I can give them a couple kernels of truth when they are alive and trying to sift through the social and cultural and political and economic mores of their times. Because it's never easy. It's never easy, especially when the leaders renege on their responsibilities. There was a book that I read a long time ago, back when I was like 20 years old, called Where Have All the Leaders Gone? It's written by a CEO of, I believe it was GM. He was the CEO of GM for a while. I forget the guy's name. It was a long time ago that I read the book, but the title was Where Have All the Leaders Gone? And people reneging on their responsibilities. Some of us are forced into that position. I want to lead, but I have like 2 people that listen to me to any degree. And I tell you, I want to lead, but you can't force people to want to follow you. It's the way it works. I'm a military veteran, and I still only have a handful of people that listen to me. It's just the way it is. They have to decide it. Doesn't matter how clear your message is. If they don't want to hear it, if they're not receptive, it's not going to do anything. So try to make it as poignant and clear and receivable as possible. That Aristotelian mean. Meet people where they are, but always try to nudge them to get better. And contributing is better than not contributing. Again, that's why I'm doing this. So to all of my descendants, anybody else who might be watching this in the year 2100, well, let's just say 2030, I don't know, try to be better. You don't have to go hard. You just have to go. Little incremental improvements are enough. Believe in yourself that you can do it. I promise you, you can if you try. Learn about compound interest. It's not just something that is related to money. It's related to everything that you consistently put effort into, as long as you're not being suffocated by exterior forces for one reason or another. But even then, it still has its effect. So, all right, guys. That's all I got for today. I'll come back at you in a little bit, a couple hours with a short. I'm going to be writing with my friend Kara again today. We missed last week because she had jury duty, but love y'all. Peace.